Welcome to the podcast with me, your host, Dr. Debra Durst, and my co-host.
Hey guys, Farideh Golembieski, nurse practitioner here at RevitalyzeMD.
So we have a fun podcast today. We're going to talk about sex facts and oxytocin. So what does it do in your body or brain to get you better sex?
So you have all the facts. I guess we start with attraction, right?
Yeah.
What is attraction, right? How do we get there? How does it go? Where does it come from? What are the neurotransmitters that play a role?
So what she's going to do is start with a little bit more of the science and the boring stuff, and then we'll have fun. So stay tuned.
Yeah, so you got to listen.
Fun stuff. Yep.
So with attraction, it starts in the brain, and it starts with dopamine release. That's the initial trigger. That's the thrill. That's what gets you going, what gets you excited, what makes you giddy. Crushes, which makes those exciting. It's the fun hormone.
So 99% of brain or of sex for women is in the brain anyhow. So I would say that a lot of that has to do with that initial, dopamine and just excitement. So again, making it a little different increases your dopamine. Maybe wanting something and the desire for something, but not necessarily getting it is a dopamine surge as well. So, but 99% of sex for women is in the brain.
Think about that, guys.
Think about that.
That's a really important fact to hold on to.
Yeah. So stay in their head no matter what. And you know what that gets you, right? So.
And then you've got desire, which is testosterone and estrogen driven. So we need our hormones. That is what gets to the next part, right? That's the desire side of it. And then there are pheromones. This might be arguable with Dr. Durst, but there are pheromones that are released unknown to all of us. It's subconsciously that DNA marker that pulls us in that says, oh yeah.
I like the DNA.
We connect.
The DNA whisper.
The DNA whisper.
Yeah, so this an attraction and you don't know why, you can't explain it. I am not arguing whether there are or aren't pheromones. I'm just saying that I want to deep dive into that and do a podcast on it.
So guys, let us know. Are you interested in learning about pheromones?
Yeah. Or if you have some information you want to share, do that as well. So I think that when we come to sex being 99% of in the head for women, but we're also then talking about the hypothalamus, and that's what brings us to oxytocin because it is released by the hypothalamus, and it's a neuropeptide released by the hypothalamus. So again, that's kind of the center of everything. And so
think of your hypothalamus as your puppet master. It's controlling the dopamine, it's controlling the oxytocin, it's controlling all of these things that are going on in the background.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, it can increase libido. It can increase orgasmic strength, erection quality. And so there are studies to show that. And a lot of them have been done with intranasal or troches, which is that under the tongue absorption. It goes right into the bloodstream. And so there's studies to show just about everything, whether it's effective in postmenopausal women in sex and orgasms, and but it's more effective with men with erectile function and orgasmic strength. So lots of good studies there to support oxytocin, but usually in the intranasal or underneath the tongue. Yep. Those are the ones that we have found the most beneficial.
So since this is RevMD and we like to talk about sex, oxytocin in higher plasma levels can increase the intensity of your orgasm. Yep. In a summary. So why not use oxytocin, right? In our practice, it's an additional medication we can prescribe along with all the other things that we do for sexual wellness treatments and hormone replacement as a nasal spray or a troche.
Yeah. And so if you think the O, oxytocin, or orgasmic strength, yes, it can also increase libido, though, and erection quality as well. At least that's what has panned out in studies. But getting to the fun facts, which is the real fun thing, because, again, there's not a large amount of studies on any peptides because those studies aren't backed by pharmaceutical agent or companies. And so you're not going to get large-scale studies, so all of it's small. But the fun stuff is, and what patients by surveys are, giving what information we're gathering from oxytocin or blood levels and testing of it. So some fun facts with oxytocin.
Yep, and we love our fun facts. So the first one is oxytocin levels spike up to 5 times during orgasm. That's a huge level increase.
Yeah. Well, and just think, we've done another podcast on orgasms and decrease in cardiovascular mortality. So, again, just have more orgasms.
We prescribe them.
Yeah, we prescribe orgasms. That's the bottom line. I thought that this one was interesting. Cuddling for at least 20 seconds can release enough oxytocin to build trust. So I would love to see some comments on that one. So again, skip the small talk and go to cuddle. But of course, maybe with some consent, just don't cuddle on anyone, close by to see if this works. But I'm curious to see if that's been anyone's experience, that cuddling
20 seconds.
20 seconds increases trust significantly. That seems like a very short amount of
It was debated
effort
prior to the podcast.
Yeah.
So
I want to hear comments on that one. So eye contact increases oxytocin. And so if you think about that, I think that's huge. But it said 3 minutes was the duration.
Uninterrupted.
Yes.
So a staring contest.
I honestly probably believe that one.
I believe that.
If someone was deeply, staring at you and making eye contact for an extended period of time, that'd be hot.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I could stare at somebody for 3 minutes without giggling.
Well, I mean, yeah, I probably could. Yeah, but that would be hot.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear, input about that one as well. I mean, that's kind of like a Daniel Craig. What is it?
Oh gosh, you went down. We're not going down that rabbit hole.
What's the
James Bond?
The James Bond. That's like a Daniel Craig James Bond kind of move, isn't it?
The intensity of it.
Yeah. Eye contact and
Yeah.
intense eye contact. Okay.
So
Try it, guys.
oxytocin can reduce stress hormone like cortisol by 50%.
Yeah, that would be huge. Again, having orgasms decreases stress, and it's known to be very healthy for you.
Everything goes right back to sex here.
Prescription, more orgasms.
There's other ways to increase oxytocin, but have sex and reduce your cortisol levels.
That's right. It's the only way to do it. So again, skin to skin contact releases oxytocin within 60 seconds.
So that seems more realistic. A minute.
I would buy that one.
Skin to skin. I can see that more so than 20 seconds, but.
Yeah. And oxytocin is released perhaps more by women. So this makes sense to me. So I don't know if you're aware of it, but oxytocin or Pitocin is something that can induce labor too. And so they will give it IV to induce labor. And so and I think we did a little blurb on this inside of a podcast, maybe it was the orgasm podcast in the past, but nipple stimulation releases oxytocin. And so with that, you can get potentially contraction of the uterus because oxytocin is what we use IV to induce contractions. So if you want to put your significant other into labor more naturally, and maybe she's approaching the due date,
weird turn.
She wants to go a little early, or she doesn't want to go over, then you need to do some nipple stimulation. So I would believe that oxytocin is more released by women because that's a known fact, that nipple stimulation.
Because that was one of our facts.
Yeah.
But men are more sensitive to it.
Yeah, so there wasn't a weird turn.
No, I did.
I had a point to it. I came back.
You came back. You brought it back. I was confused for a minute. I'm like, why are we talking about pregnancy?
Yeah, no.
But
yeah. Yeah, so I think that is definitely believable. And then also oxytocin. So this brings it back to men who want better orgasmic strength. I think that delayed orgasm is something that commonly happens when we have some mild, again, erectile changes. That delay in orgasm can be one of them, where they can go for an extended period of time. And it actually is bothersome to the man sometimes that they want to be able to have an orgasm sooner. And so oxytocin can help with muscle contraction of the pelvic floor and therefore improve your orgasmic, ability and strength. So definitely something to try out if that delayed orgasm is one of the issues you might be having.
And that works for women too.
Yeah.
That increased contraction. So that can also improve orgasm strength on both sides.
Yeah. Any other fun facts that we missed?
That was all the ones that I had on my list, unless you've got something random you're going to pull out of your hat.
No,
like the
I mean,
nipples.
I think the big hidden secret that no one really knows about is that, oxytocin is naturally released by nipple stimulation. So maybe even that guy that is having trouble with delayed orgasm could try a little nipple stimulation. And we can do PRP under the nipples too, which increases sensitivity. So those are always thoughts, because then if you have increased release of oxytocin with nipple stimulation, you might have better orgasmic quality and shorter duration.
And we see that with our women when we do O shots, which is with platelet-rich plasma. We do offer nipple as well, and that's what we hear very frequently is increased
They don't
sensitivity.
offer them just to women.
Well, I know, but I guess I should rephrase that. Women always want the nipple PRP more so than men. Some men, before you can even get it out of your mouth, they're like, no.
Yeah.
But
Well, we heard a lot of that initially, and just a story going back to that. So when we, again, 7 years ago, incorporating PRP injections and O shots and P shots into the practice, I would offer it up to a man. And for a few years there, and Farideh is quite aware of it, we would actually just get it halfway out and they'd be like, nope, as if they knew what we were going to offer. And it was always, do you want to do a PRP injection under your nipple? And they would literally answer before we even could complete the question. But I was convinced that we would end up getting some men on board, and we have.
we have.
Yeah.
And they like it.
Yeah.
They're happy with the results, the ones that go for it.
Yeah. I've had maybe just one person that said it really didn't affect them, but that was only one out of all the men. And I would say about 50% of our men now do PRP injections under the nipple for doing P shots. So just an FYI, it can
Where
be
a
done.
much higher rate of women jump all in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's highly tied to orgasms for women, but would love to hear your experience, men. How many men love nipple stimulation? Do you want to do a podcast on men and nipple stimulation? Just let us know your thoughts, because we are obviously willing to deep dive into anything sexual wellness or wellness.